Okay.
Then the block goes between the feet to give the feet this distance. Step it back, reverse the back, and square it.
All right, let's stop for a moment. You're going to practice teaching this in the afternoon. For right now, I need to teach something different. Please open up your manuals to the page of 114, please. 114. All right, so here's a story. Now I'm going to explain about the lower back and the bending of the knees and why we're talking about bending of the knees and all of the anatomy behind that, so that you now understand why the whole thing is about bending the knees and what the point of that is. So we are in essentially day 2 or day 3. I don't remember, but it's that area where I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 different things that are all related to each other. Okay, I'm going to talk about the lower back and the knees bending. I'm going to talk about an alignment principle that says that every back bend has a forward bend and every forward bend has a back bend. And then we're going to go over downward dog alignment and adjustments, so you guys know how to start to touch each other in downward dog. Okay, so all that's going to happen right now before the break. Okay, so let's just simply start with the lower back paragraph. Now, do you see in your book on that page, there is a paragraph that says required paragraph? Okay, can you please circle that paragraph, please? Required paragraph, please circle it. You have to memorize it. I'm going to teach it to you now, but ultimately you will learn it. I will go through this paragraph one step at a time and explain what it's saying. Before I do, let me make sure you understand something briefly. Very, very briefly, I will just tell you one thing about anatomy that you will need to know for this conversation. Benja and Sol, just in case you didn't know. So this very simple thing that I want you to know is very simple again. Pelvis equals 3 bones. That's all I want you to know right now, is the pelvis, which is this thing here, is actually equaling 3 different bones that are all fused together. So I just need to make sure you know that, and then I will continue and discuss this. His muscles are not very well developed, so it's hard for him to stand up straight. Okay. Pelvis equals 3 bones. It equals the ilium. It equals the ischium. And it is the pubis. 3 bones that make up the pelvis. Of course, they're all fused together, so they act like they're 1 bone, but there's really 3 separate fused bones together. You've got the ilium, which is the whole top part. All of this is ilium. Then you have the bottom part, which is ischium, bottom part, including the very, very bottom is called the ischial tuberosity, which has another name called your sitting bones. Okay, so these are your sitting bones. And then the front part of your pelvis are the bones that are called the pubic bones or the pubis bones. Okay, so all I need you to know for this one little moment is the pelvis equals 3 bones. It equals the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. And now I can continue. Obviously, I'll be teaching you all the bones at some point sooner than later, but not today. Now, the paragraph says the following information. Again, this is the answer to the question of why are we bending our knees? Okay? I'll try to answer as clearly as I can. So the first thing the paragraph says is that the hamstrings, which are the back of your thighs, are attaching on to your sitting bones, ischial tuberosities. Okay, so we're just doing one thing at a time. The hamstrings attach to the sitting bones. Got that so far? Okay. The next thing in the paragraph says is that the sitting bones are the bottom part of your pelvis. Okay, we got that, right? Sitting bones are bottom of your pelvis. Okay. Next thing the paragraph says, forward bending requires pelvic rotation. Rotation, this is the word. So you see right now my pelvis, the bowl of my pelvis is facing up right now, okay? And then when I do a forward bend, I need the pelvis to rotate, okay? The actual pelvis has to rotate, and you see that in my case, it's doing that, okay? Forward bending requires pelvic rotation. Now, you see that as I'm starting my rotation, my sitting bones are way down here. But then as the rotation continues and the pelvis is inverting, the sitting bones are coming higher up, right? They're down here, but now they're coming higher up. So what has to happen in my hamstrings to allow for my sitting bones to go up? What has to happen to my hamstrings? What do they have to do? They got to get longer. Because right now they're at one length. But now if I want to bring the sitting bones higher, they have to stretch. Is that true? Okay. And in my case, my hamstrings do open up enough so you can see my pelvis is going to rotate because my hamstrings are growing in order to allow that. So far, so good? Now, what happens if the hamstrings are tight? Well, if the hamstrings are tight, meaning they're not going to grow, well, then it's very much just like two steel cables, right? We're not talking about a rubber band anymore. We're really talking about steel cables because they don't move. And they're hooked on to your sitting bones, okay? And they're pushing your sitting bones down. They're pulling you down, right? Because they're tight. Now, your hamstrings are tight, so your pelvis is not going to rotate. So what happens? You try to forward bend anyway. And that's what it's saying. That's what the next paragraph's next sentence says. When the hamstrings are tight, pelvic rotation is limited. See, I can't rotate the pelvis because the hamstrings won't let it. It's just simply about that. And if I try to forward bend anyway, without my pelvis rotating, it starts to look like this. Any sort of variation of a curve like that is dysfunctional, even if the person could actually touch their toes, but they're doing it in that rounded way. That's also unacceptable because the pelvis is not rotating. And when the pelvis does not rotate and you try to forward bend anyway, the stress goes to the lower back. Two possible injuries can happen in lower back. One is my injury, which is the sacroiliac joint. The sacrum is here, the ilium is here. They connect at the dimples. You ever seen dimples in people's lower back? Those dimples are the sacroiliac joint. And in my case, in Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, I got pushed down in the forward bending aggressively, and they overstretched my ligaments. And so I have a destabilized sacrum, and I had back pain for a long time as a result of that. The other type of injury is a herniated discs, which can also happen as a result of stress and strain in the lower back. Now, when we bend the knees, everything changes. Because as soon as you bend the knees, the hamstrings are not in play anymore. The tautness of the hamstrings is now slacked because you have brought the middle in, okay? So whereas before here, my pelvis cannot rotate, the same person, when they bend their knees, their pelvis rotates automatically. Take a class of 30 people or 20 people. And 75% of them will have tight hamstrings, period, right off the bat. Another 10% will have already back pain. Another 10% will have herniated discs and they won't even know they have them, because a lot of people have herniated discs and they don't know it. So take a group of 20 people, 95% of that room must do it with their knees bent, either for prevention or just for intelligent application of their body. And very few people, like 5% or less, are appropriate to do a standing straight-legged forward bend, which is one of the most intermediate poses in all of yoga. Okay, it's counterintuitive. It's not what you think. It's not simple, and it's not for beginners. Okay, the standing straight-legged forward bend is one of the most intermediate poses of all because of this conversation that we're having here. So we're not here to say, inhale, arms up over your head, exhale, forward bend, bend your knees if you need to. You see why you wouldn't say that? If you need to, right? Because then what are you thinking? You're thinking, I don't want to need to, right? I want to do it right. So it's not, bend your knees if you need to. It's forward bend with your knees bent. It's an instruction for everybody. Okay. And by the way, it's every single time. It's not 90% of the time. It's every single time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward bend with your knees bent. Walk your feet between your hands. Keep your knees bent. Inhale, lift your heart. It always has to look like this. Never this. And never this. Now, when I say never this, I just want you to understand why they made this up. You understand that they made this up, right? Like inhale, lift your heart, and they come up. Have you ever seen this before? Why do they do it? Well, because there's intelligence to it in the sense that this is structurally okay. The reason why we're not going to do it is how the heck did you get there? And what are you going to do after that? You see what I'm saying? Because if you got here, okay, great. Now, how are you going to get back down to the ground? Without bending your knees, how are you going to do that? You're not safely. So there's just no reason to get into this halfway wake. And then just stay with your hands on the ground. Inhale, lift your heart, and exhale, step your feet back. We do not want to open our hamstrings in a two-legged forward bend. Never. That's not how you open your hamstrings. You open your hamstrings one leg at a time. One leg at a time. Pulling on the straight leg or one-legged downward dogs or anything one leg at a time. You can work on the opening of your hamstrings. You can't do it two legs at the same time against your lower back. Okay. Let me tell you why. You have your hamstrings down here. Okay, so your hamstrings, well, that's not very helpful. Your hamstrings are over here. They're big, massive. Over here, you have your little sacroiliac joint and your little discs of your back against your massive hamstrings, and they are massive. Now, in the middle is the pelvis. Has anybody ever played tug of war? You know the game? Ever been to summer camp? Tug of war, you know what I'm talking about? Line up on one side and you line up on the other side, and we got to pull the rope, and who's going to win? Okay. Well, who usually wins in tug of war? The people that are the biggest or the people that are the smallest? The biggest, of course. The biggest, the more massive, the more weight. Well, who do you think is going to win this tug of war? Between your hamstrings and your little sacroiliac joint. And that's what this is. This is tug of war. And this is the rope. The pelvis is the rope. Well, I'll tell you, the hamstrings will win every single time, and your lower back will lose every single time because they're just too massive and too strong. Okay. So you want to play that game, the lower back will lose. Okay. So you're dealing with prevention is better than cure. Is that an okay statement? I would much rather prevent your lower back history or pain than have to cure it. So we are prevention minded, and that's why we are so focused on bending the knees. And it's, again, it's not if you need to, it's bend your knees. The 3 people out of 100 who do not need to bend their knees, they won't. So you don't want to worry about them. They just won't do it. And that's fine. You don't have to coach someone who is like a gymnast or a ballet dancer, and they're so open in their body and they have no issues, they have no pain. You don't have to coach them to bend their knees. But everyone else is being told to bend their knees. And so they know that that's correct. Is that fair enough? Okay, because this is about safety, and safety comes first. And the lower back is one of the areas where most people have the most complications. And a lot of people come to yoga because of lower back pain. So we have to manage it. It has to be managed with the forward bends every single time. Does that make sense? Okay, so you have to memorize that paragraph, because in the future, you're going to be coaching people on this stuff. And you're going to be telling them about the knees. And then what do you know what they're going to ask you one day? Why? Why do I have to bend my knees? And you're going to answer, well, it's because your hamstrings are attached to your sitting bones, and your sitting bones on the bottom of the pelvis. And forward bending requires pelvic rotation. But if the hamstrings are tight, the pelvis, okay, this paragraph is the answer to that. Does that make sense? Okay, do you have any questions about why I'm so sincere and specific about this bending the knees? And I don't have any exceptions, and this is why. Does it make sense? Do you have any questions about this first before I go on? Okay. No. But the pain goes away. So that's just as good. Yes, I have a pain-free life, but I have never healed my sacral iliac because it cannot heal. Because these lower back injuries are not healable. I still am very careful with my sequencing. And there are many things that I simply will not do because I do not want to threaten my pain-free status. And I know that if I do foolish leg behind the head poses and deep types of forward bending things, I could potentially tweak my lower back again. And then I would have to take a few months and re-stabilize my pain-free lifestyle. But I don't practice with my ego. I practice so that I have a pain-free life. In other words, I practice to live. I do not live to practice. Okay.
I don't have pain, but I do have like lower back history, and I feel that it's probably better not to do this for me, but to learn the sequence to be able to.
So it's a good point, and you're allowed to hurt yourself because it's your body. So you're allowed to hurt yourself. It's just hurting everybody else that's the problem. So if you want to experiment with these things and see how it goes and see how you feel, you can do that. And you can say, you know what, this pose is okay for me. But if you have pain, you will know why. And that's the important thing. And it's possible that you can do many things without having pain, but you don't know yet. Okay. And so you have to find out. But it's a fun exploration. You know what I mean? Even if you have pain for a couple of days, big deal. You learned a lesson. What is important, though, is that you only do very few new things. Because if you do a lot of different new things and then you have pain, you don't know what was the cause. You understand? But if you have your pain-free life and you have your sequence, and then you start to do one new thing at a time because you're just curious, well, then you would know that that's the new thing that caused your pain.
Actually, it's the other way around, because I've been doing yoga without knowing that things I've been doing these things so that I don't feel, but now I'm thinking that maybe it wasn't.
Yes, well, that's likely. So now when I say new, I mean new post us. Like here we're refining your sequence. We're going to get it all pretty much right. You're going to never think about back pain for the rest of your life. Okay. And then new means after that means you want to try something different. That's okay. You might pay the price. There's nothing wrong with paying the price. It's a lesson. Okay. It's not a problem. Okay. And you have the right to hurt yourself, just not everybody else. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. Go ahead. In the sitting forward bends, exactly the same thing. Yes, it's the same exact conversation. You know, the sitting forward bends are so intermediate, they should never be taught to anybody. A sitting straight-legged forward bend, that's just ridiculous to teach that in my world. Okay. But you do it with the knees bent and then it's totally fine. And then absolutely no issues at all. Because once the knees bend, the pelvis rotates and then the whole conversation is neutralized. Okay. Good. More thoughts? Yes.
Straight, but my back is straight. That's correct.
If you have no lower back history you have open hamstrings, and you have no limitations at all, it's likely that you can do all of that stuff without bending your knees. But don't demonstrate it to the class, because they're going to only do what they see you do. So you must demonstrate with your knees bent when you're teaching. But if in your physical practice it feels so good and it's easy and you got no issues, technically you don't have to bend your knees. Yeah. Yes, Marcy. Yes, it's very similar. And we're going to go to that in a minute. We're going to talk about that in a minute because it's a very similar conversation. I can do that right now and then kind of switch my order just to answer your question. Because this question about pelvic rotation and hamstrings being tight is exactly the same conversation in downward dog. And many people have tight hamstrings in downward dog. And when they do, it forces them to look different than other people do. And not in a good way. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Someone who has tight hamstrings in downward dog will look like this. Ugh. They'll look like this. Okay? The legs can be straight, but they're being pushed forward. Okay? The shoulders are pushed forward. And it's kind of like a combination of plank and downward dog. And it is literally intolerable. In fact, I consider this to be an emergency. Like a real emergency. I do not tolerate that. Why is it an emergency to me? Because it means that if someone's doing downward dog that way, it is an emergency. And the emergency is this person is not enjoying yoga. That to me is an emergency. Okay, they're not enjoying yoga because that pose is not effortless. That pose is a struggle. That pose makes people really feel like they're essentially like, what the hell am I doing here? Okay, and they don't understand because they're here, right, in this version, and they're just brutalized and struggling, and they see you, right, next door to them, and you're just like, so easy, so easy. And they don't understand. Well, the reason why is because it's not easy for them, because their hamstrings are so tight that it's pushing them forward. The pelvis is not rotating. So how do we fix this? Okay, so Marcy, come here, do downward dog. Not that you have the tightest hamstrings in the world, but it's still an appropriate adjustment for you. So go ahead and do downward dog. And if you really, truly, actually had tight hamstrings, then you would look like this. Okay, this, just stay there for a second, even though it's brutal. This is what they would look like. Now, her hamstrings are not that tight because look how she can come into this place. Okay, so not that tight, but there's just a tiny bit of pressure here in the shoulders that can be released when we bend the knees a little bit. And we bend the knees a little bit, there, done. Okay, so now she should be able to get more fully into the opening of her armpits as opposed to before being stuck in some sort of weird push-up position. Okay, come down for a second. Now, who really has tight hamstrings? Anybody? I haven't noticed anybody really tight hamstrings. Nobody? Okay, let me come here. I'll use you as a demonstration just for fun. Yeah, I think you more, maybe possibly more than some other people. So go and do downward dog. Let's see what you look like first. Okay, and straighten your legs all the way. Okay. Okay, so they're not that tight because again, if they were really, really tight, as you straightened your legs, you would push forward to this position. Okay, but she got to something close to downward dog, so they're not as tight as they could have been. Now let's pretend that they are tight. Let's go up to the really tight position. How do we fix this? Here's the instruction. Number one, you tell them, do not move your hands. Do not move your hands. The first thing you say, do not move your hands. You're going to come, you're going to make contact knee to knee. Okay, notice I stay very far away from her. Knee to knee. I'm also not going to use my fingertips, only using the wrists. I will bend her knees for her. Bend your knee, and I will pull her towards me. Now she's ready. Does that feel okay? Okay, so she was here. I come, I say, don't move your hands, fingertips away, wrists, bend the knees, and pull her towards you. And notice that I stay very far away from her energetically. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, please take, well, let me just finish what I'm doing theory-wise, and then we'll do a little bit of partners before the break, okay? All right, last thing theory-wise is this rule about anatomy that has no exceptions. And the rule is that every forward bend has a mini back bend, and every back bend has a mini forward bend. So let me just say that first, and then I'll explain it now. Every back bend in yoga has a mini forward bend. Every forward bend in yoga has a mini back bend. Again, this is a rule. It has no exceptions. I have to take my shirt off. Back. Now, let's start with forward bends, because we've already been talking about forward bends. So here in forward bend, and as I've said, if I'm only going to go forward, I'm only going to go forward, and then I'm just going to start rounding my lower back. That's forward, only forward. Can't do that. Every forward bend has to have a mini back bend. Now, if you look carefully, you're going to see I have a slight curvature, inward curvature in my lower back. I'm going to keep that the whole time. You see that even as I'm going forward, you can still see this back bend. Isn't that true? Even as I continue to go forward, you still see it, right? So that's correct, because as I'm going forward, I have my little back bend. I have my heart opening and I keep that. That's correct. Which is again why people teach this, because they don't want to see that. But again, how are we going to get from here to here without doing something even more dysfunctional? So that's the issue. So that's true, forward bending the mini back bend. It's also true the other way around. This is something that you might not know, but we're going to experiment with this right now. Every back bend has to have a mini forward bend. Because if all you do in a back bend is go back, crunch, 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 compression, no thank you. Cannot be compressing your lower back or crunching your lower back. The mini forward bend in the context of the back bend is this. It's literally micro. It's this. Ready? That's it. It's this. This is it. It's a mini forward bend. Now I'm going to keep this the whole time. As I go into my back bend, my belly is always in, my tailbone's always down. So whatever I do, when I come out, it's still there. I never, ever let this go, ever. I let this go, crunch. Okay, now let's try this. You guys try it, please, in cobra pose. Not standing up, I want you to do cobra pose. Now in cobra pose, the first time I want you to do it wrong. I want you to do cobra pose without any consideration of the front of your body at all. Just go back and feel how terrible it feels. I want you to feel how terrible it feels when you're not paying attention to this. Everyone agree that that's not feeling good? That feels compressive, right? Now, this time, before you go up, slightly scoop your tailbone between your legs and draw your belly in and maintain that while you go up into your back bend. And you should feel supported, meaning that there is a back bend, but not a compressive tendency. Does everybody agree with me? Now, I don't care what the back bend is. They all do this. Remember I said every back bend has a mini forward bend. Every forward bend, there's no exceptions. So we're talking about camel, cobra, wheel, bridge, whatever it is. Belly in, tailbone down. Okay? Got that? Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so now I want to, wait, so did I show you both, the back bend and the forward bend? Okay, yeah. So now I want to show you downward dog adjustments, the 3 or 4 options that we're going to have, so that when you're doing your teaching practices already and they're in downward dog, you can start to make physical contact. It's very important that you can put your books down and get your hands empty and ready to make contact, okay? So that's kind of why I'm continuing to push you to learn this stuff, so you can have your hands free. All right, come, let's show downward dog and let's show some options here. And then you're gonna practice this on each other in a minute. So take notes or even you take pictures if you want. Yes, yeah. Yes, it's a slight tuck of the pelvis. Yes, yes, yes. That is essentially it. But I don't speak about that, but that's essentially it's belly in, it's tailbone down, and the pelvis is slightly shoot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so let's see downward dog. And I'm going to give you three different ways of adjusting downward dog, and then we're going to go over the tight hamstrings version. So you can practice that too. Okay, so number one is facing the same direction as the person and simply putting your hand at the back behind their heart and not doing anything else. Just that's it. This is perfect. Okay, just contact and touch. Okay, we're not here to change their life or change their pose. We're here to communicate several things. Number one, thank you for being here. Okay, I see you, I appreciate you. Okay, that's the main message. The other messages have to do with some other deeper things as well. Second option, face the person. So the first option was the same, but now I'm going to face the person. One hand on the sacrum. Again, never use fingertips. Never use fingertips in any potential sensitive part of a person's body. Okay, so I could use my fingertips here. See this? This is not threatening her. But I would not start using my fingertips around her butt or around the inner of it, right? That's just inappropriate. So here, okay? And now I can massage in a circle, and the circle is going to go the direction of a clock, clockwise direction. One hand here, circles, massaging, friction, not pushing, just frictioning. No, none of this has to do with anything except saying, hi, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your presence. That's mostly this stuff. Yeah, it's not like changing them. Yeah. No, not pushing, just kind of pulling it up, like kind of like moving it in the direction of up, but certainly not pushing it down. Okay, so that's do. Rest for a second, relax. All right, back to it. Now the last ones come from behind. And this is similar to what we're going to do with the tight hamstrings downward dog, but it's the same adjustment for people that don't have tight hamstrings. Again, I'm going to stay far away from her, and I'm going to use only my wrists because we're moving into this area. Okay, so fingertips would never work. But you'll see my fingertips go around, and I can hook. See how I got that? Okay, hooked it in. Now, all I'm going to do is pull her back. That's it. That's the adjustment. Okay, does that feel good? Okay. Hands a little wider. All right, now the last, so we have, just to review, 1, 2, 3. Got that so far? Okay, then the last thing that you're going to practice with each other before the break is that this person is going to pretend like they have tight hamstrings. Just like they're going to look like this. You're going to say, don't move your hands. Don't move your hands. Don't move your hands. Come around, knees to knees. Bend the knees. You tell them to bend the knees as you do it for them, and you pull them back. And you put them into this position. Now, once they're here, they stay with their knees bent. They don't straighten their legs. And you tell them, you say, hey, how's that feel? Normally, they're going to say, great. And you say, good. That's your downward dog. Okay? Relax. Got it? Okay? Partner up and try it. Partner up and try it. If there's only a group of 3, that's fine. You can do it a group of 3. Please try all of the variations. That's 4 adjustments. Huh? The last one with the tight hamstrings one? Yes. That's the version that you might see. And then what you'll say is, don't move your hands, bend your knees, and pull the hips towards you. So they'll start to look like a V. And the most important thing is this is straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? A lot of instructors come and they like lean on our hamstrings behind you in downward dog. They like put their weight, at least with me, they put their weight like on my hamstrings. So I'll be here
And somebody else fall.
You're talking about coming from this direction? Like what, this? But that's what I've said.
body weight.
How?
Like leaning their whole.
Well, sometimes they can lean from this direction. This is a leaning thing. But from the other direction, I don't know how anybody would lean. And I certainly wouldn't recommend it.
No, it's like literally they'll come up behind me. Pull and lean towards the toes. So I guess open up my shoulder. Yeah. Like that.
No, but that's similar to what I'm saying. She's saying something different. Plus, don't use your fingertips though. Whatever it is that they're doing, I don't know that I would recommend it,
Okay.
but I would love to see it.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's inappropriate. It seems like their body's all over you.
Yeah.
It seems like chest and
Yeah.
private parts touching other parts, and none of that.
So, okay.
Yeah, but maybe it's not okay. You
Yeah.
know, you never know.
Yeah.
And either way, I'd like to just keep it very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
like respect.
So most of the point of this, except for the hamstring one, is just to basically say hello.
Yeah, it's to make connection and to, because that's very, very profound. That's not a small thing. It's a huge thing. And yeah, they're not warmed up usually yet. This is the beginning of the practice. You know, they're in downward dog sun salutation, so you're not trying to like perfect them. What we're looking for is safety. Yeah, that's the key. Okay, keep rotating. You're trying 4 things. Rotation. Okay, like a clock, and you're going to use the heel of your hand and kind of create like a friction feeling. And a friction feeling.
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then this hand though here. This hand here.
So, I was doing the first one.
Oh, if you're doing the first one, just maybe this hand and just stay. That's the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, they're very similar. Yeah,
I know I don't have tight hamstrings, but you.
it's your shoulders are the issue.
So
Yeah.
should I?
No, well, let's see. Let's see. So you see all this tension here? See that? See, that's because of her structure of her shoulders. She's not going to really be able to control that. Think of wider hands. Because her shoulders don't really want to do what they need to do, which is this. Okay, they don't like it, and it's not really even possible for her. So that's your downward dog for now. But go ahead. What's your question?
Doing it and I don't really enjoy it, but I've learned.
Struggling through it. Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yes.
It's okay. Like I enjoyed yoga.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I know it's something that you notice that not a lot of people do notice.
Of course.
You know? That's amazing, but I don't know how to.
You can't fix it.
Okay.
You know, you have to accept it and decide whether it's worth it to continue with it or not.
You
In
know,
other
when
words,
I go to child's pose whenever I just.
that's fine. The basic way to know is in your daily life, because you cannot allow this to create neck tension in your daily life. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter anything else. So if what you might do is take a week after the training, when you learned all this stuff, take a week or 2 and eliminate downward dog and do all the variations I'm going to tell you and change your sequence entirely and see how your daily life is.
Yeah,
See it. Well, headaches can be several factors. Okay. And you were saying that your diet was pretty miserable before this. And so there's a lot of reasons why the body would start to show symptomology. Dehydration is headaches. Okay. So all these things come together. So you have to fix all of it. Okay. But then we have to make sure that the sequencing is not the responsible party, but obviously you have to fix all. Yes, that's something that is true. Your hands are too close together. Okay, but that's not the issue, but it is true. The only other way you could possibly navigate this is on your fingertips. Yeah, because sometimes on your fingertips, people can rotate the shoulders differently. But again, the fingertips is not easy for people.
Yeah, but I'll do it. I think.
Try it. Let me see. Yes, if your fingers are strong enough to do that, then it's possibility that you can do that. And if that's possible, you might feel less stress in your shoulders. Okay. But again, this is just options.
I mean,
Okay.
it feels so much better to do it like this because I've been used to it, but I'll
Yes.
try it.
It's just a matter of understanding the relationship between this and your daily life and figuring out that and then taking it from there. Because that's the only point that matters.
She doesn't need to bend her knees, right?
Her issue is not a knee. Her limitations got nothing to do with her hamstrings. It is just entirely shoulder joint. It's the design of the head of your humerus is just the way. Remember the same thing I was explaining about the hips,
Yeah, but
and it's in the shoulders. They're the same joint.
I told you, remember the first day, I have 2 bodies. One.
Yes. Yes.
Flexible to the like, and I need to work on this.
Well, you have one body.
I know, but
and you have different scenarios. Okay, but yes, but don't speak to yourself like
No, I
that
know.
because it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, and everything's perfect. Okay, because everything has got you to this moment now. And you know, we all have our history, and we have to just give thanks for the lessons that you're learning, that you can help other people, because it's, you know, 1 in 25 people have those shoulders, or 1 in 20. That's a pretty good percentage. It's like 5% of the whole world, if not more. So I mean, I see this every day. That's why it's so easy to pick it up. Yeah. All right. So when you're done, let's go with final questions. Final questions. On the downward dog adjustment,
Yeah.
you are,
I felt a lot of her hip bones. I don't know.
well, let me show you
Okay.
on her. But yes, you're essentially gonna like lock into the bone. Yeah, like to that. It's like whatever can hook, you know, like, so that's the hook. So yeah, perfect. Yeah, you'll feel the bone. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the key is there's no. Yeah, and again, because it's really deep, but again, it's no finger, so it doesn't matter. You see, I can use my fists, I can use anything. But yes, it's a very personal area. That's why you got to do it properly. Yeah. Mhm. All right. So before your break, you can go to the wall and you can do handstands, forearm stands, or boat pose for the next 2 minutes. Any difficult poses that you want to work on now is your time. And I will help you, of course. So let's go with about 2 minutes of anything goes, self-practice. And if you want me to help you, I will. And then at some point, we're preparing for the break. Okay, let me know how I can assist you. Please be very careful and keep breathing. That looks good. Yeah, let's see if you need help. So go a little closer to the wall. All right, that should be fine. Now palms together. Okay, now you're gonna look up at the wall the whole time. Downward dog first, and then jump one leg up. That's it. That's it. You don't need help. You don't need help at all. Good. Now elbows a little closer. And just, yeah, that's fine. Now just jump all the way up. Nice and controlled, but you'll make it. You got it now. Other leg. That's it. Perfect. That's it. Perfect. Now stay there. Perfect. Oh, hands for a handstand. Let's go a little wider. Just like downward dog. Try that. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Keep your legs straight when you jump up. Straight legs. Good, Mary. Let me just look. Come down for a second. I just want to check out something. Your hands are not correct yet. They're going to have to interlace the other way. The other way. Like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, good.
Okay.
Okay, uncross your thumbs. Okay, elbows closer. Okay, and then look up to the wall. And then one leg jumps up. And then the leg follows it. Go, jump. Yes, just like that. Perfect. All the way. Keep your legs straight. Good. That's fine. That'll work. Let's just keep doing that. Get that leg up to the wall. Elbows closer. Okay, jump. Good. Stay. Breathe. 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 Come down anytime you want. Perfect. Why don't we put you right here or right here?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in 2 minutes of having fun. You're doing boat pose. You're doing your difficult poses. I'm here to help you. Handstands, forearm stands, anything goes. Let me know how I can assist you. Forearm stand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that,
Go ahead and take your watch off.
oh, sorry. I
Don't
went
be
to-
sorry.
But it's not a battery. So
Oh, it's not.
it's
Oh, so,
function,
oh,
but still.
well, that's always better. Okay, uncross your thumbs. Okay. Good. Look to the wall. Good. Walk a little. Now one leg up. And the other leg jumps. That's it. You got it. You got it. That'll be perfect. Just do that. All the way to the wall. You got it. Perfect. There it is. That's it. That's you. Now I Can't believe you just did that, huh? Well, I can because you're stronger than you think. And that's what happens when you practice. Keep breathing though. Everything looks good. That would be fine. Yes. Last minute. Anything you want me to help you, let me know. Yes, boat pose, keep your heart lifting more. Yes.
More straight.
Yes, and knees together and try to get your knees to touch and lift your heart also.
Okay.
While you're trying to bring your knees in, yeah, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Yeah. To the wall. No, you look to the wall. The wall in front of you and handstand also. Yes. Are you okay?
Back off of pondering tomorrow.
Yes. You should back off doing lots of things that are not really intelligent.
I'm not doing that again.
Okay, yeah, less is more. That's our general rule. Yes. All right, hold on, I don't want you to hit the wall. Okay. Okay, so you can do shoulder stand and fish when you're done. That's fine. I'm here. I will be here the whole time, even if you don't think so. I'm still here. Keep breathing. Good. Keep breathing. I'm here. Keep breathing. I'm here. Push into your fists. Push into your fists. Push into your fists. Yes, push hard into your fists and you'll stop your momentum. Push, 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 push hard, hard. Like that. You get the idea when I say push into your fists, what I mean? I'm gonna put yes. Okay, try it again. Okay, shoulder stand and fish. We're finishing up our practice. So do your last few things. Good, 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 good. Yes, yes. Okay, so push into your fists if you come my way. Get used to it. Get used to it. Good. Nice and strong. Nice and strong. Breathe. Yes. Breathe. 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 One leg down. Perfect. Okay, take your time.
Hello, hello.
Hey, girls.
You know, I really like, I think. Uy. So bad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just. So much fun. I really like this little group.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah,
Little
so
groups are
okay.
easy.
Like that. Super. That's great. Oh, dices que se te fue, que no se te, it didn't attach where it had to attach. Bájate. Ah, sí, estaba.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave for about 45 minutes. You're gonna take over, but they're on break for the next 20 minutes. They have to do teaching practice. So it's pretty much they're on automatic pilot anyway. It's easy. Yeah, because they have to practice teaching from the opening sequence. Pairs, no, pairs, partners. Yeah. Each person 5 minutes straight. Person teaches everything all the way up to tree pose. And it's as you switch. I already did it. I just now, yeah, I just did theory on the back bends and the forward bends and I just did what I wanted to cover for today. Yeah, so now they just have to do teaching practice. I don't even have to come back, honestly. Yeah, I probably won't since you're here. Yeah, so it's already going to be 12:20 and they don't, the day's done with.
You and me, because there's 7.
One of you might have to be a partner.
Exactly, so.
Whoever hasn't practiced yet can be the partner. Okay, let me just finish them up. They're gonna put them on a break and then it's gonna be you. Okay. Oh, smart. Shavasana. Very smart. Let's do that for 5 minutes. Stay there, relax, inhale through your nose and exhale out of your mouth. I'll see how many foot massages I can accomplish the next few minutes. Inhale through your nose. Exhale out.